Hello folks, doing a quick video since I finally started another batch of homebrew that I brewed on Sunday. Today is Tuesday night. Just wanted to show the airlock blow-off, multi-vessel blow-off contraption that I came up with. Nor Cal Brewing Solutions, or norcalbrewing.com. They call their version of this is the Krausenketcher. There is another version in the a BYO magazine from about a year or so ago. Very simple concept. The idea being is that we ferment all this beer, and we want all the oxygen consumed. Once the oxygen is consumed, and our yeasties start producing alcohol, and then once we have the finished beer, then we want to do everything in our power we can to prevent oxygen from coming back in contact with that beer. One of the downsides, and even more so worried about oxygen, it could be if you're sloppy with your airlock, you can actually get fluid sucked back into your beer and all kinds of weird stuff. If you had a blowoff tube going into water, I see some horror photos of star sand stratifying across the top of some finished beer because somebody cold crashed and all of this star sand got sucked back into the beer, which is not ideal. I'm more concerned about oxygen because I haven't had any of the fluid issues. But anyway, what I've been playing with is, again, referring to the Nor Cal Solutions Krausenketcher. I was actually more influenced by the BYO article, but I don't think it's actually online. I think it's in the magazine itself. But really, what we have here is, I have my beer fermenting here in the fermenter. It is my winter beer on Pac-Man yeast. And you can see it's nice and active. This is why I kind of love these crystal clear plastic fermenters, because I can watch the beer fermenting and it increases my enjoyment. That's about all I can say about that. But really what we have here is I have a fermenter drilled. I had got a solid lid, drilled 2 holes in it, 1/2-inch holes. I have silicone grommets that I bought. I bought a bag of them for, not a whole lot of cash outlay. I will include a link. And in through one, I have my thermal well. You can see right down into the beer if I can get away from the condensation. But I assure you, I think it's about an 18-inch thermal well. So that once I put my probe in for my Inkbird dual stage temperature controller, I have the thermal well directly immersed in the beer itself, and I like it that way. If you look at some other videos, I've tried some, I got lazy before I got my lid all situated. I had the probe on the outside of the fermenter, and opening the door over the summer especially would just be enough to kick on the refrigerator. It was kind of annoying. Anyway, that is not the point of the video. The point of the video is really to talk about this little airlock system that I set up. As I said, Nor Cal Brewing Solutions calls this a Krausenketcher. For whatever reason, I never have much trouble with Krausen in this vessel when I ferment in it. There is 6 gallons in here, but this is still a 7-gallon fermenter, and by the looks of it, my Krausen is kind of off the high water mark already, so things are kind of wrapping up a little bit. Maybe not. Who knows? I did take I won't mention the gravities, but I did check it, and it still had a ways to go, about 12 hours ago. But anyway, so what I have here is second hole. I just have a piece of hard vinyl. Plastic tubing. It's actually a bottle filler that I had that was a piece of crap that I cut up into sections about 4 inches each. You can kind of see it through the tube, through the silicone, and it kind of pokes down. Yep, there it is, right there. And finally, you can see my thermal well tube for the CO2 to escape. So basically, what happens here is silicone tubing over this tube, you can see it goes to the back of the fridge. I probably need to cut it down, and it comes over to this mason jar here that I've set up, and you can see the CO2 goes into the mason jar. There's another long tubing from another bottle filler that I need to cut down a little bit, and then this tube goes into an actual simple beer bottle I've set up as kind of a blow-off tube, right? So the idea being, if I was getting a crazy amount of krausen, the krausen would all end up in this bottle here. This bottle as well, all the stars, excuse me, all the star sand that is in the beer bottle at the start of fermentation was actually in the mason jar, right? So as CO2 comes in, we have a pressurized mason jar. It forced the sanitizer up through this second tube and into the to the beer bottle. And right now the beer bottle is full of sanitizer, and you can see it's kind of acting as a, you know, basic blow-off tube, right? So again, the idea why we do this, or why I do this, and my biggest concern is if I turn around to cold crash this beer, you know, this lovely fermenting winter beer here, what will happen is we'll get negative pressure in the fermenter itself. It'll start contracting the gases in the headspace in the fermenter, and it will start pulling our trapped CO2 from the mason jar, you know, again transferring the negative pressure over to the mason jar, and then the mason jar is going to start sucking sanitizer from our lovely beer bottle here into the jar, and should, you know, fill up or partially fill up. And that way, all we should have being pulled back into the fermenter. So all I will have being sucked back into the fermenter is naturally produced carbon dioxide, you know, which, you know, in my mind is a good idea. And again, you know, the Nor Cal Brewing Solutions, their option was they had, you know, this dual intake on one jar, and then they had another mason jar that had a hose input in here, and they had a single piece airlock on top of that. So, you know, work basically on the same concept, just that there was additional CO2 trapped in the secondary mason jar. I don't think that's really necessary, and if I recall, this is kind of how the BYO article was set up. There was just another mason jar here that was being used as a blow-off tube. You know, I'm using a beer bottle because a beer bottle is, you know, mason jars aren't expensive, beer bottles are cheaper. So anyhow, so yeah, that's about it. Probably put this through the paces. I had a version of this in some of the other videos. Didn't fully set it up. I set it up kind of at the last minute as a you know, kind of trying it out, and I didn't get a lot of CO2 captured in the mason jar. So we will see. I will probably don't know exactly what's going on with my brewing schedule. If I get a chance to cold crash this, I probably will, to get some of the yeast out of it. I definitely have to, the plan with this beer is to rack this on top of some raspberry puree, and I do have a little bit of a nutmeg tincture going that I'm going to put in the secondary as well. So I don't know if I'm truly going to cold crash this. Probably when the next beer on my schedule is a New England IPA that I will probably definitely be cold crashing that, because there's going to be a big dry hopping charge that I'm going to be trying to get out of the finished beer. So again, this was a trial run. When I get down to it, I'm going to probably cut off a little bit of this tube, and you know, cut down a section of this tubing off here, and who knows, I might you know, have a bunch more grommets. I might just add a second mason jar to this whole contraption, and then just do a single piece to just prove that I can create the Nor Cal Brewing Solutions version without, you know, welding, you know, fake mason jar lids. You know, these plastic lids here you would definitely wouldn't freeze or do any sort of real long-term storage with these lids, but you know, they're great little things for me. And I think I picked up a package of, you know, 6 or 10 or whatever they are at Walmart for, you know, very little expense. So that's about it. If you like the video, or if you're interested in this, interested in what I'm doing here, you know, comment, let me know. You know, like, you know, subscribe. I'm going to try to be adding some more videos as I go along here. I don't know what the brewing schedule is going to look like over the winter, as I am getting close to the winter months. But things have been pretty dormant for the past few months as I'm finishing up my MBA degree that I'm doing part-time with regular work. So if I wasn't working, I was pretty much spending time on my schoolwork, and if I wasn't doing schoolwork, my wife demanded some attention. So that is it. And so hopefully some more content will become pretty regularly, some more brew days. I didn't record brewing this beer because I still did it outside, and it was a nasty day outside. It was cold and windy, and I ended up with more wort in here. My numbers were off because simply the weather impacted my what I was doing to brew off my beer. I had the temperature down a little bit, and it was cold and nasty out, so my boil off rate was off, and unfortunately instead of having a 5 point, I think it would have been a 5.3% beer, it's going to be a 5% beer, so no big loss. So that's it. Again, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Thanks.